The Morpheon Line, a chronicle of steel and giants upon Armageddon. The flesh doubts, the machine remembers, the weak seek victory, the strong calculate inevitability. Attributed to Iron Father Feirros during the Morpheon reconnaissance. Prologue: The world that never stops burning. Armageddon had forgotten what peace felt like. Even after centuries of orc invasions, demon incursions, and imperial counteroffensives, the Forge world remained a planet whose air smelled of burning promethium and molten steel. Along the northern approaches to Hive Tempestora stretched a scar across the landscape, known simply as the Morpheon Line. Miles upon miles of interconnected trenches, concrete bunkers buried beneath ferrocrete, gun nests staring across crater fields, collapsed manufactorums converted into hard points. Originally built during the Third War for Armageddon to contain the endless green tide, the Morpheon Line had become a labyrinth of forgotten fortifications. Although many bunkers stood empty, each still possessed functioning Vox relays, Auspex arrays, ammunition caches, and hardened command centers. Whoever controlled these positions would determine the fate of Hive Tempestora's western approaches. The Adeptus Mechanicus believed unknown forces had begun surveying the line. Two Imperial commanders received entirely different orders. Neither knew another loyal Imperial army had already been dispatched. Steel before the storm. The strike cruiser Ferrum Dominatus drifted in silence above the scorched hemisphere of Armageddon. From orbit, the planet resembled a dying forge. Vast rivers of molten slag glowed beneath curtains of ash, while the smokestacks of manufactorums pierced the cloud cover like the broken teeth of some ancient predator. Hive Tempestora dominated the northern continent, its impossibly tall spires vanishing into perpetual thunderheads lit by furnace fire. Tens of billions of Imperial citizens toiled beneath those towers, forging the weapons that armed 1,000 battle fronts across the galaxy. To lose Tempestora would be to cripple entire sectors of the Imperium. That possibility was unacceptable. Within the strategium, a three-dimensional hololith shimmered above a circular obsidian table. Countless icons drifted over the scarred terrain west of the Hive City. The Morpheon Line. Once, it had been the Imperium's greatest defensive achievement upon Armageddon. During the Third War, millions of laborers and servitors had poured ferrocrete into the blasted earth, carving a labyrinth of trenches stretching for nearly 200 kilometers, fortress redoubts, subterranean magazines, anti-tank bastions, artillery bunkers, and command posts had transformed open wasteland into an iron labyrinth intended to halt the endless advance of Gazkol's orcs. The line had succeeded, barely. Now, decades later, many of its bunkers sat abandoned. Others had been reclaimed by the ash, their entrances buried beneath drifting slag and volcanic dust. Yet countless Vox relays still functioned. Auspex arrays still whispered across the battlefield. Hidden ammunition stores remained untouched. An enemy occupying the Morpheon Line could threaten Hive Tempestora itself. Iron Father Feirros studied the projection without blinking. The blue light reflected from the black augmetic lenses replacing his eyes. The objective, he said, is information. No one answered. There was nothing to add. Captain Caanok stood opposite him, his armor the color of polished gunmetal, every surface marked by scars from campaigns beyond counting. Beside him rested the towering form of Brother Asterion, ancient of Clan Raukaan, his Terminator plate, bearing relics older than many Imperial worlds. The battle standard folded across his armored back. It had been carried through 6 crusades. It had never fallen. Chaplain Malak Voss waited nearby, helmet beneath one arm. His expression remained unreadable beneath a skull-white face marked with ritual circuitry. Behind them, officers of the clan observed the tactical display in absolute silence. Feirros enlarged the battlefield, the Morpheon Line unfolded beneath them, ancient trench systems, collapsed manufactorums, observation bunkers, communication trenches, forward hard points. Each glowed one after another. Our reconnaissance must answer 4 questions. His mechanical voice carried no emotion. What defenses remain operational? Another icon illuminated. What enemy forces occupy them? Another. What avenues permit armored advance? Another. And what assets must be destroyed before larger Imperial operations commence? He allowed the silence to linger. We are not here to conquer. His augmetic fingers folded behind his back. We are here to know. Far below the command deck, Deck 9 thundered with restrained industry. The vehicle bays stretched nearly half a kilometer, illuminated by crimson lumen strips that reflected from polished ceramite hulls. Every machine waited like a chained predator. Tech Marines moved methodically between them. Each motion possessed ritual significance. No movement was wasted. Incense drifted from bronze censers carried by servo skulls. Binary cant echoed softly through the cavernous chamber, while sacred oils were brushed across adamantine armor. Brother Aegis 47 awoke first. The ballistus dreadnought's reactor brightened with a low metallic growl. Ancient optical sensors ignited. The sarcophagus housing the mortally wounded hero within hissed as coolant systems disengaged. Systems nominal. The words emerged as layered vox distortions. Brother Aegis had once commanded an entire company before grievous wounds upon Medusa confined him to the walking tomb. Centuries had passed. Only duty remained. His twin ballistus Lascanon slowly elevated toward the open launch bay. Targeting algorithms awakened. Diagnostic routines completed. The weapon fired. No visible beam crossed the void. Only a microscopic pulse of coherent light disappeared into endless darkness. A calibration. Brother Aegis repeated it again, again, again. Perfect accuracy demanded constant perfection. Nearby, another sarcophagus awakened. Brother Corvus Sigma rotated his missile launcher through millions of simulated firing solutions. Orbital engagements, urban sieges, mountain warfare, armored columns, fortified bunkers, each solution calculated, verified, discarded. Satisfied, the ancient warrior spoke only 3 words. Probability acceptable? Elsewhere, the 2 gladiator lancers mirrored one another like twins. Servo arms polished emitter lenses. Their laser destroyers whispered invisible test pulses into space, while Tech Marines monitored energy dispersion, measured in microscopic percentages. No deviation exceeded acceptable tolerances. The machine spirits purred contentedly. At the center of the bay rested the repulsor executioner, indomitable logic. She dwarfed the vehicles surrounding her. Servitors climbed across her armored hull, carrying ammunition magazines larger than mortal men. Heavy laser capacitors charged. The gravitic repulsor plates emitted a deep harmonic hum that vibrated through the deck itself. Machine oil dripped onto sacred iron. Techmarine adept Hestor laid both hands upon the vehicle's hull. Binary prayer spilled from his Vox grill. The tank answered. Lights brightened. Targeting optics rotated toward him. Recognition, approval, communion. Around them, the machine spirits whispered through streams of sacred code beyond human hearing. The iron hands listened. They always listened. At the opposite end of the launch bay stood 10 giants. Brother Asterion planted the company standard into the deck plating. The impact echoed through the chamber. Silence followed. Captain Caanok Var stepped before the Assault Terminators. No speech, no sermon, no inspiration. Words possessed little value. One by one, the Terminators raised their thunder hammers. One by one, storm shields met adamantium heads. Clang. The sound reverberated through the launch bay. Another hammer, another shield. Clang. Again. Again. 30 echoes rolled through the chamber like distant artillery. No battle cries, no declarations of glory, only iron answering iron. Caanok Var withdrew a small relic from his belt, an elongated cube of black metal in the form of an ancient prehistoric club, engraved with circuitry older than the Imperium itself. Axiom. The relic's machine spirit awakened instantly. Streams of tactical projections flickered across his retinal augmetics. Enemy movement predictions, environmental hazards, optimal assault vectors. Thousands of calculations unfolded every second. His Vox activated. We advance before the enemy calculates our position. 10 helms inclined simultaneously. Acknowledgement. Nothing more. Nearly 3,000 kilometers above them, another fleet prepared for war. The colossal transport Valorous Dominion hung within high orbit, escorted by frigates bearing the crimson and gold heraldry of House Drakonis. Unlike the austere efficiency of the Iron Hands, the night vessel resembled a flying cathedral. Banners hundreds of meters long drifted within vaulted halls. Bronze statues commemorated heroes reaching back to the age of apostasy. Stained glass filtered the light of distant stars into rivers of crimson and sapphire across polished marble floors. High Monarch, Sir Garen Helbrecht, stood before an observation window taller than a titan. Armageddon rotated beneath him. His throne mechanicum rested behind him like an ancient beast awaiting its master. He clasped both hands behind his back. Signal all lances. A herald bowed. At once, my liege. Moments later, the command gallery, filled with armored nobles. Lady Selene Arcturos approached first. Young by night standards, she possessed a reputation for fearless aggression that bordered upon recklessness. Sir Edric Vaughan entered beside Baron Cassian Holt, their ceremonial cloaks trailing across polished stone. Behind them stood the 2 armiger pilots, Squire Aldrin Pike and Squire Lucan Voss, both barely old enough to inherit the burdens placed upon them. Helbrecht activated the tactical display. Our mission is planetfall. The hololith displayed several locations scattered across the Morpheon Line. Secure these landing zones. Another image appeared. Establish defensive positions. Another. Prepare for reinforcement by additional Imperial forces. He looked upon each noble. We anticipate resistance. No one seemed concerned. Lady Selene smiled faintly. Greenskins? Likely, quipped Helbrecht. Sir Edric folded his arms. Chaos? Possible, Helbrecht muttered. Baron Holt shrugged. Traitors? Helbrecht nodded. Whatever stands before us will be swept aside. Confident murmurs spread through the chamber. No one questioned success. No one imagined failure. No one imagined another Imperial force already occupied the battlefield. Far from the assembly, hidden within maintenance corridors never shown upon official schematics, a lone figure observed through a one-way surveillance screen. She wore the face of an elderly deck officer. Moments later, she became a young laborer, then an aging priest. The transformations flowed like water. Kalidas assassin Lyra Vex smiled to herself. A secure Vox channel activated. Only 5 words arrived. Eliminate enemy command assets immediately. She closed her eyes, committed the order to memory. Then every trace of the deck officer vanished. Only the assassin remained, waiting, patient, as she always had. Below them, Armageddon continued to burn, unaware that 2 loyal servants of the Emperor were descending toward the same battlefield under different orders. The Morpheon Line had waited decades for its next great battle. It would not wait much longer. Ashes before dawn. There was no sunrise on Armageddon. The planet had surrendered its skies to industry long before the birth of any living man. Millions of smokestacks vomited soot into the heavens, mingling with volcanic ash and the lingering scars of orbital bombardments. Daylight was reduced to a weak copper glow, filtering through endless clouds, bathing the world in the color of dried blood. The soldiers of Hive Tempestora marked the passing of time, not by the sun, but by the factory whistles. The first whistle had not yet sounded. The Morpheon Line lay silent. Captain Caanok Var paused at the lip of a collapsed communication trench. His helmet optics swept the wasteland before him. The trench network stretched toward the horizon like the veins of some dead giant, each line disappearing beneath drifts of volcanic ash before re-emerging hundreds of meters farther on. Razor wire protruded from the earth in twisted coils. Rusted Lehman Russ hulls rested where they had burned decades before, their skeletal remains half swallowed by the planet itself. Everywhere stood monuments to forgotten battles. Everywhere, silence. Behind him, 10 Assault Terminators advanced without sound, despite the impossible weight of their tactical dreadnought armor. Each step compressed ferrocrete beneath adamantium boots. No one spoke. Speech consumed processing cycles better devoted to observation. Axiom pulsed within Caanok Var's gauntlet. The relic's ancient machine spirit continuously consumed battlefield data. Wind velocity, thermal signatures, elevation changes, possible ambush positions, projected enemy approach vectors. Millions of calculations flowed directly into his augmetic cortex. A single route glowed amber across his visor. Optimal. He turned left without hesitation. Brother Asterion followed, the company standard rising above the trench line like the mast of an ancient warship. Tattered battle honors stirred gently in the hot wind, each stitched by hands, long reduced to dust. None of the Terminators questioned the course. The machine had already calculated what instinct never could. The bunker emerged from the haze, almost without warning. Much of its upper structure had collapsed during some forgotten bombardment. Massive ferrocrete slabs leaned against one another, forming jagged angles through which drifting ash continually poured. Imperial eagles, once proudly carved above its firing ports, had been shattered beyond recognition. Only fragments remained. Caanok crossed the threshold. Darkness swallowed the squad. The bunker smelled of rust, dust, and ancient promethium. The remains of abandoned ammunition crates lay scattered across the floor beside spent shell casings untouched for generations. Brother Asterion planted the company banner beside a fractured command console. Its crimson cloth hung motionless. Caanok activated his Auspex array. Green lines swept through the structure, hidden firing embrasures, collapsed maintenance tunnels, reinforced ammunition vaults, and defensive firing arcs. One by one, the bunker surrendered its secrets. Mission progress. Acceptable. He transmitted the data without a word. Far above, aboard the Ferum Dominatus, Ironfather Feirros watched another section of the Morpheon Line illuminate upon the tactical display. Knowledge accumulated. Victory remained irrelevant. 5 kilometers to the east, Scout Sergeant Doran Vale flattened himself against the earth. His camouflage cloak had become indistinguishable from the ash surrounding him. The wind shifted. He waited. Only after 3 full minutes did he continue crawling. Around him, the rest of 4th Scout Squad advanced with equal patience. Brother Jarek carried the portable Auspex. Brother Nicanor watched their rear. Brothers Solon and Merrick moved through the razor wire ahead, carefully lifting each rusted strand before easing themselves beneath it. Not one barb rattled, not one stone shifted. Ahead stood observation post Sigma 17, little more than a collapsed artillery observation bunker buried beneath decades of ash. Exactly where intelligence predicted. Doran raised a closed fist. The squad froze. He listened. Nothing. No engines. No footsteps. Only the distant groan of Armageddon's wounded crust. Satisfied, he carried forward. The bunker remained largely intact below ground. Dust coated everything. Ancient cogitators rested beneath layers of corrosion. A Vox console blinked weakly just outside a hole blown through the wall long ago. Still alive. Remarkable. Brother Jarek unfolded the Auspex scanner. Blue light washed across the exterior wall. Surface structures appeared first. Then buried tunnels, trench junctions, gun pits, collapsed hard points, every aspect of the bunker, every firing lane, recorded. Doran watched the information scroll across the display. Transmit. A burst transmission leapt skyward. Mission progress. Acceptable. He allowed himself the faintest hint of satisfaction. It lasted less than a second. Chaplain Malak Voss preferred the silence. Many chaplains inspired their brothers with sermons. He inspired through certainty. His Terminator squad advanced steadily through another section of abandoned trench works. Storm bolters held across massive ceramite chests. Ahead stood an old command bunker reinforced with layered ferrocrete. Unlike most along the line, its blast doors still functioned. Brother Severian forced them open with his power fist. The hinges screamed. Dust exploded outward. Inside, ancient tactical maps still clung to cracked walls. Imperial battle plans from another century where thousands had died defending this room. Today, it belonged to the Iron Hands. Malak activated the squad's scanner. Another burst of encrypted telemetry vanished toward orbit. Objective complete. He bowed his head briefly, not in prayer, in acknowledgement. Another calculation resolved. Elsewhere, nothing moved. The armored spearhead remained concealed behind a low ridgeline overlooking the battlefield. The two ballistas dreadnoughts stood immobile among shattered manufactorum ruins. Brother Aegis 47 watched through magnified optics capable of reading identification markings 30 kilometers away. His reactor idled. His targeting cogitators continued refining firing solutions. Brother Corvus Sigma tracked 93 potential engagement zones simultaneously. The Gladiator Lancers rested hull down behind broken ferrocrete embankments. Their laser destroyers remained perfectly aligned. The repulsor executioner, indomitable logic, floated silently between them. Its gravitic plates barely disturbed the ash beneath its hull. Not a single weapon traversed. Not a single engine revved. They resembled abandoned wrecks, executioners waiting for the condemned to arrive. High above the planet, thunder split the heavens. Dropships descended. The first elements of House Drakonis entered Armageddon's atmosphere. Within the throne mechanicum of the Erastus Night Lance of Dawn, Lady Selene Arcturos smiled as the machine spirit welcomed her thoughts. The ancient knight had become an extension of her body years ago. She no longer distinguished between flesh and steel. Heat bloomed across her tactical display. Landing vectors unfolded. She instantly was bombarded with information regarding atmospheric density, wind shear, and reactor output, everything perfectly within tolerance. Then, a warning rune blinked. Unknown contacts, her augurs focused. Mass readings, power signatures. Human, she questioned. Armored, she frowned. Space Marines. The words hung in the cockpit. The Erastus Knight answered with a low growl as its plasma reactor increased output. Interesting. No deployment orders had mentioned Adeptus Astartes. No intelligence briefing suggested Allied reconnaissance forces operating within the Morpheon Line. She keyed a secure channel. High Monarch, unidentified Imperial signatures confirmed. Sir Garen Helbrecht's voice answered immediately. Maintain mission priority. No hesitation, no concern. The planetfall operation continued. One by one, the Knights secured their assigned landing zones. Baron Cassian Holt guided Iron Resolve into the western expansion corridor, the Night Warden's massive feet crushing abandoned trenches beneath thousands of tons of adamantium. Sir Edric Vaughn maneuvered Resolute Fury toward another fortified crossroads. Armiger warglaves remained aboard dropships, awaiting the time when they would be needed most. Planetfall progressed flawlessly. Objective 1, secured. Objective 2, secured. The landing zone stabilized exactly as planned. Then another warning appeared upon Sir Garen's tactical display. Long-range movement. Infantry. Astartes. Maximum range. The Knight Castellan's machine spirit immediately supplied a firing solution. Probability of kill, 99.8%. Permission required. Granted. Nearly 20 kilometers away, Scout Sergeant Doran Vale never heard the weapon fire. The volcano lance released a concentrated spear of stellar fury. Its beam crossed the intervening distance almost instantaneously. Brother Jarek looked up, only because instinct demanded it. White light consumed the bunker wall. The ferrocrete fortress wall and floor beneath their feet ceased to exist. The earth itself vaporized. For a heartbeat, the battlefield became brighter than noon. When the brilliance faded, there was only a crater. Molten rock glowed where the scout squad outside observation post Sigma 17 had once stood. No armor fragments remained. No gene seed could be recovered. No names could be spoken over the dead. Scout Sergeant Doran Vale had ceased to exist. Aboard the Ferrum Dominatus, one blue rune disappeared from Ironfather Feirros' tactical display. He observed the empty space for precisely 3 seconds. Then he keyed another command. Scout Squad 4th. Status: destroyed. He neither frowned nor sighed. The information they had gathered had already been transmitted. Their mission had succeeded. Their sacrifice had statistical value. The Ironfather simply recorded another line in the campaign log. Lady Selene Arcturos watched the distant impact through magnified optics. "A decisive weapon?" she whispered. Yet something else caught her attention. Another group of Astartes occupied an elevated bunker overlooking the battlefield. Larger, heavily armored, and wearing Terminator plate. Without waiting for further orders, she slewed the Cerastus Knight's immense bolt cannon toward the position. The reactor surged. Mass reactive shells erupted from the weapon in a continuous stream. The bunker disappeared beneath explosions. The shots caused concrete to shatter, ash to fill the air, and entire walls to collapse. Within the storm of detonations, Captain Caanok Var stood immovable. Shields, 10 storm shields, locked together. The first shells burst against overlapping adamantium, then another, then dozens more. Explosions rolled across the defensive wall like ocean waves against a cliff. One Terminator staggered. Another absorbed a direct impact that would have annihilated a battle tank. Brother Tyrus, the youngest of the squad, took the final shell squarely upon his shield. The ceramite buckled. The thunderhammer fell from nerveless fingers. For an instant he remained standing. Then the great warrior toppled backward into the dust without a sound. Brother Astarion lowered the company banner a fraction. A silent acknowledgement and nothing more. Caanok Var never turned his head. He did not look upon the fallen. He did not pause. His optics remained fixed upon the advancing night engines striding through the ash. Within Axiom, millions of calculations converged. The enemy had committed its center, exactly as predicted. For the first time since setting foot upon Armageddon, the captain allowed himself a single thought beyond the mission. Now we begin. The hammer falls. The Morpheon Line awoke. The silence that had endured since the opening volleys finally died beneath the thunder of advancing war engines. The Knights of House Drakonis strode forward through the choking haze, each colossal footfall collapsing abandoned trenches that had once held tens of thousands of Imperial guardsmen. Centuries-old bunkers vanished beneath adamantine feet. Tangled coils of razor wire snapped like thread beneath armored greaves. Every step of the towering god machines sent tremors through the fractured earth. Yet the battlefield remained strangely restrained. Neither side sought annihilation. Both sought information. Both pursued objectives invisible to the other. Only Armageddon itself seemed to understand that two loyal servants of the Emperor had become enemies through bureaucracy, circumstance, and fate. Captain Caanok Var watched the approaching Carastus night through drifting curtains of ash. His visor ignored the immense machine's beauty. It catalogued only measurements, armor thickness, joint articulation, heat signatures, power fluctuations, and reaction time algorithms spread out across his display. Every observation streamed into the ancient relic axiom. The machine spirit within the relic whispered probabilities across his retinal display. Target identified. Reconnaissance incomplete. Close proximity required. Lady Selene Arcturos, meanwhile, peered down through the panoramic display of the Lance of Dawn. The Terminators did not scatter. They did not seek cover. They advanced directly toward her. "They mean to board me," she murmured. Her throne mechanicum pulsed with amusement. The ancient knight's machine spirit welcomed worthy opponents. She smiled. So be it. The Tempest Warblade rotated into a guard position. The Carastus Knight's bolt cannon elevated. Targeting runes blossomed across her display. She selected the lead figure, Captain Caanok Var. Ironfather Feirros, having recently deployed from the Ferrum Dominatus, observed the engagement through dozens of servo skulls circling high above the battlefield. His expression never changed. Captain Var has entered optimal engagement envelope. A tech marine, aboard the nearby repulsor executioner Indomitable Logic, glanced toward him. The Cerastus outweighs his force by... "I am aware," Feirros interrupted without raising his voice. "The equation remains favorable." No further explanation followed. None was necessary. Ash swirled violently as the Carastus Knight accelerated. Hydraulic pistons hissed. The giant war machine covered hundreds of meters with astonishing speed, its reactor roaring like a caged star. Lady Selene raised her blade. Across the battlefield, Caanok Var watched a dozen tactical predictions bloom before his eyes. Everyone ended differently. Only one resulted in mission success. He closed his fist. "Charge!" The single word echoed across the company vox. 10 Assault Terminators exploded from the ruined bunker. Their charge was neither reckless nor glorious. It was inevitable. Thunder hammers struck fractured trench walls as they vaulted obstacles. Storm shields crashed through rusted firing ports. The ground shook beneath 10 warriors clad in Terminator plate. Brother Asterion carried the company banner directly behind his captain. Its tattered cloth whipped through the ash like a blood-red comet. Lady Selene's smile widened. "Excellent." She swung the Tempest Warblade. The colossal blade screamed through the air. Entire trench sections disappeared beneath its passing. Caanok Var never attempted to evade. Instead, he stepped forward. One armored gauntlet reached out. Axiom awakened. Thousands of microscopic Auspex pulses flooded the Cerastus chassis. Internal reactor layout, hydraulic routing, armor composition, and machine spirit resonance details poured into the relic. Across the captain's visor, a single rune flashed. Scan complete. Target logged. His hand withdrew. Now. 10 thunder hammers rose and fell more than 30 times. The first impacts landed against the knight's left knee. Adamantium buckled and hydraulic fluid erupted outward in incandescent fountains. The second wave shattered the actuator housings. The third struck higher, lower torso, and hip assembly, leading straight to the reactor shielding. Every blow landed with mechanical precision. The battlefield became a forge. Each strike sounded like continents colliding. The Lance of Dawn staggered. Warning runes consumed Lady Selena's cockpit. Structural failure. Reactor instability. Servo collapse. No. The knight attempted another step. Its left leg folded inward. Thousands of tons of sacred war engine pitched sideways. The Tempest warblade tore a canyon through the earth as the giant collapsed. Its reactor erupted beneath the armored shell. Flames burst skyward, the cockpit filled with blinding white light. Lady Selene laughed, not hysterically, but joyfully, a worthy end. The reactor consumed her before the words fully left her lips. Silence followed, not because the battle had ended, but because even war paused to acknowledge the death of a knight. Brother Asterion again lowered the company banner briefly, an honor granted to a worthy foe, then quickly raised it again. The Assault Terminators stepped over the burning wreckage. Not one looked back. The mission remained incomplete. Ahead stood the true prize, the towering silhouette of the Knight Castellan. Within the indomitable wrath, Sir Garin Helbrecht watched the destruction of Lady Selena's knight without speaking. His jaw tightened. The throne mechanicum fed him emotions older than memory. Sorrow, rage, and respect felt simultaneously. House Drakonis had lost noble blood. He would remember her. But after the battle, now there remained only one command available to him. Fall back. The order reached every knight instantly. The Cerastus is lost. No one questioned him. The Castellans stepped backward. The Crusader shifted east. The Warden widened the formation. The surviving Armagers were ordered to secure the flanks. They would not allow the Terminators another decisive charge. The Knights adapted, as they always had. High above Armageddon, another battle was beginning. 5 tiny green icons detached from the strike cruiser. They plummeted through the atmosphere like falling meteors. Sergeant Kalen Drust grinned inside his helmet. Jump packs armed. 4 acknowledgements answered. Their objective appeared below. Night Warden, close-range scan. One of the other veterans stated matter-of-factly, immediate extraction impossible, probability of survival inconsequential. The Vanguard veterans struck the battlefield amidst pillars of fire. Jump packs howled as ash exploded outward. They landed scarcely 100 meters from the towering knight. Kalen activated his auspex. The scanner locked onto the massive engine. Armor density, reactor emissions, command protocols, and weapon loadout readings all flooded in. Every byte of information streamed toward orbit. Mission complete. He almost smiled. Baron Cassian Holt saw them immediately. Astartes, his Avenger Gatling cannon rotated. Thousands of targeting calculations resolved. He squeezed the firing stud. The cannon roared. Hundreds of mass-reactive shells crossed the intervening distance in seconds. Brother Helion vanished first. Brother Marcus disappeared before his body struck the ground. Brother Caius ceased to exist entirely. Kalen attempted to ignite his jump pack. The explosion overtook him. The last thing he saw was confirmation that the scan had transmitted successfully. Mission accomplished. The battlefield fell silent once more. 5 warriors gone. Not one had reached cover. Standing with the armor column, Iron Father Feirros observed another cluster of blue runes disappear from his tactical display. Scout squad, vanguard veterans, assault elements, every casualty registered, every objective completed before death. His mechanical fingers folded behind his back. A young tech marine popped a hatch on a gladiator lancer, stuck his helmeted head out, and spoke. "My lord, should we alter the operation?" Feirros continued watching the battlefield. "No. The reconnaissance proceeds within acceptable parameters." The tech marine hesitated. "We are losing warriors." Feirros finally turned. "We are preserving knowledge." His augmetic eyes reflected the burning remains of the Lance of Dawn. Knowledge wins wars. Across the Morpheon Line, something unusual emerged. The western flank burned. The eastern trenches smoldered. The northern approaches echoed with artillery and reactor fire. Yet the center of the battlefield remained almost untouched. An empty stretch of shattered trench lines. Collapsed bunkers, broken roads. No Marines advanced into it. No Knights claimed it. It was as though both commanders instinctively distrusted the ground. Or perhaps both machines had reached the same conclusion. The center was not yet worth dying for. Above that empty expanse, ash continued to fall from Armageddon's poisoned sky, settling gently upon forgotten helmets, rusting tank hulls, and the bones of soldiers who had died in wars long past. The Morpheon Line had claimed new heroes. Before the day was over, it would claim many more. Calculated violence. The battle for the Morpheon Line had settled into a deadly rhythm. Neither commander sought glory, neither sought decisive annihilation. Each pursued objectives dictated by orders issued far beyond Armageddon, orders conceived by strategists who would never breathe the world's poisonous air nor hear the screams of dying machine spirits. To the warriors fighting below, the reasons scarcely mattered. Duty remained. Duty always remained. The battlefield had become strangely divided. To the west, the burning carcass of the Lance of Dawn continued to smolder, its shattered frame illuminating the ash-choked sky with intermittent bursts of plasma fire. Recovery would have to wait. No sacristan could survive venturing into that killing ground. To the east, House Drakonis had tightened its formation around the remaining Questoris Knights. Between them, silence. A no-man's land of collapsed trench lines and cratered artillery positions stretched across nearly a kilometer of blasted earth. No infantry occupied it. No knight strode through it. Ancient bunkers stared across the emptiness with shattered firing ports like blind eyes. The center belonged to ghosts. For now. Aboard the Ferrum Dominatus, warning runes flashed crimson inside the teleportarium. Tech Marine Lexor studied the shifting calculations. Atmospheric interference increasing. Electromagnetic storms rolled across the Morpheon Line, remnants of orbital bombardments fought decades earlier. The ancient defensive network still possessed active power relays buried deep beneath the Earth. Their residual energies distorted teleport homers into tangled webs of uncertainty. "The insertion window narrows," he reported. Chaplain Malak Voss remained motionless inside the teleport chamber. His Terminators stood behind him, storm bolters resting across armored chests. Every warrior understood the risks. No one objected. The chaplain keyed his vox. Faith is certainty. Blue lightning erupted around them. Reality folded. The center of the Morpheon Line exploded in arcs of crackling energy. Collapsed trench walls vaporized. Ash spun skyward. Then 5 immense figures emerged from the storm. Brother Severian stumbled one pace before stabilizing. Brother Corin materialized waist-deep inside shattered ferrocrete, servo motors screaming as he tore himself free. The teleport had scattered them. Not disastrously, but enough. Malak Voss surveyed the battlefield. His target stood scarcely 40 meters away. A lone woman dressed in the tattered uniform of an Imperial communications officer. She should not have existed there. The Auspex identified no life signs. The machine refused to acknowledge what his eyes clearly saw. The woman smiled. Her flesh rippled and the illusion dissolved. Black sin skin, pale features, and eyes devoid of humanity were all that remained. Kaleidos. Malak recognized her instantly. The assassin bowed slightly. Chaplain? The Terminators raised their storm bolters. Charge! The order echoed across the ruined trenches. Brother Severian surged forward first, power fists clenched. 40 meters remaining, then 30, 20. The assassin simply exhaled, and a grenade struck the ground. Smoke blossomed outward with unnatural speed. By the time the Terminators reached the position, nothing remained, only drifting ash. Malak knelt briefly. A single footprint remained impressed into the soot, already fading. The assassin had vanished. He rose without comment. The hunt would continue. Far above, another eager unit detached from the Ferrum Dominatus. The final Vanguard veteran squad descended. Sergeant Marcus Thane watched Armageddon expand beneath him. Landing vector confirmed. 4 acknowledgements answered. Unlike Sergeant Kalen Drust before them, their destination lay deep within the night deployment zone. They would not survive extraction. Every man understood. No one hesitated. The jump packs, ignited as 5 meteors, plunged through Armageddon's poisoned atmosphere. Sir Garin Helbrecht stood within the command sanctuary of the indomitable Wrath. Around him, tactical displays updated continuously. 1 Carastus Night Castigator lost. 2 reconnaissance penetrations confirmed. The battle remained balanced, despite the advancing Terminators. Then, a warning rune blinked. Unauthorized atmospheric entry. Too late. The Vanguard veterans crashed directly in front of Baron Cassian Holt and his Night Warden, Iron Resolve. Brother Valen deployed the portable Auspex before his boots even touched the ground. The machine drank deeply. Quickly data from reactor signatures, command frequencies, landing zone telemetry, night deployment protocols streamed into Brother Valen's display. Soon after, everything was transmitted toward orbit. Marcus watched the confirmation rune flash green. Objective secured. He looked upward. Mission complete. No extraction came. None had ever been planned. Ironfather Feirros observed the battlefield through the eyes of a dozen orbiting servo skulls. His calculations constantly shifted, the Crusader hidden until now, stepping around the burning remains of the fallen Cerastus. Finally exposed, he mumbled to himself. He transmitted a single command. Oath confirmed. Every armored vehicle acknowledged simultaneously. Brother Aegis 47 fired first. Twin ballistas las cannons lanced across the battlefield. The beams struck the Crusaders' left shoulder. Armor vaporized. Warning alarms screamed inside Sir Edric Vaughan's cockpit. Then Brother Corvus Sigma unleashed his missiles. Explosions walked across the knight's chest. Fragments of heraldic plate rained onto the battlefield. The gladiator lancers joined the execution. Twin laser destroyers converged. One beam carved through the knight's carapace. The second bored entirely through its torso. Sir Edric felt the throne mechanicum convulse beneath him. The machine spirit howled in agony. Still. The knight remained standing. Then came the indomitable logic. Its heavy laser destroyer fired. The blast struck squarely beneath the Crusaders' reactor housing. For one impossible heartbeat, everyone believed the knight would fall. Instead, the reactor stabilized, barely. Smoke poured from shattered armor. Hydraulic fluid cascaded from ruptured joints. Half the cockpit displays died. Sir Edric coughed blood. His throne restraints had cracked 3 ribs. Yet the Crusader still stood. His voice emerged ragged. House Drakonis. He gripped the controls tighter. Does not kneel. 400 meters to the northwest, Captain Caanok advanced through the burning remains of the Cerastus. He notices movement ahead through the burning soot and ash cloud. An Armager warglaive accelerated toward him. Squire Aldrin Pike had watched the destruction of Lady Selene. Grief became anger. Anger became momentum. The thermal spear fired. Molten plasma engulfed the Terminators. Storm shields glowed white beneath impossible heat. No Marine fell. The Armager lowered its Reaper chain cleaver. It intended to crush them beneath sheer mass. Caanok merely raised Axiom with renewed vigor and righteous anger. The Armager had the opportunity to fire, but never had a chance to charge. 10 thunder hammers answered the Armager's volley. The first strike shattered the thermal spear. The second crushed the knee assembly. The third ripped apart the reactor shielding. The remaining blows became almost unnecessary. The warglaive simply ceased to function. Steel folded inward, and its reactor collapsed beneath the overwhelming and unnecessary number of repeated impacts. The machine disappeared beneath a storm of adamantium. When the thunder hammers finally ceased moving, nothing recognizable remained beyond scattered armor plates and burning wreckage. Brother Asterion silently replanted the company banner beside the ruined objective, using the Armager's chain cleaver to hold it upright. The ground was theirs once more. Lyra Vex had no interest in heroes. Heroes complicated missions. Commanders ended them. Disguised as a wounded servitor, she limped unnoticed through the smoke behind the Iron Hand's armored line. No one questioned another damaged machine upon Armageddon. The disguise dissolved as she entered the shadow of the indomitable logic. Ahead stood Iron Father Feirros. Alone, he stood reviewing battlefield telemetry. Exactly as she predicted, the assassin became motion. No warning, no sound. The neural shredder fired once. Psychic agony flooded Feirros' nervous system. He turned, but it was too late. The phase sword pierced the Iron Father's reactor core with surgical precision. Sacred machinery failed instantly. Feirros looked down, not at the assassin, but at the sword. The assassin thought this to be curious. His act was almost analytical. Quickly, machine oil mixed with blood. His augmetic eyes dimmed, and he collapsed without a word. Lyra withdrew the blade. Mission accomplished. The universe answered, not with vengeance, with chance. Far across the battlefield, Sir Edric Vaughn finally returned fire. The wounded crusader unleashed its remaining arsenal. A battle cannon shell screamed across the battlefield. One gladiator lancer disappeared beneath the explosion. Its ammunition detonated instantly. The vehicle erupted into a towering inferno, and a fragment of armored hull the size of a rhino hatch spun through the air. Then another, then dozens more. The blast wave struck Lyra Vex full force. She vanished beneath tumbling steel. Her body slammed into shattered ferrocrete 30 meters away. Broken but conscious, she tried to rise. Brother Aegis 47 observed her through magnified optics. Target identified. Threat level minimal. He simply walked forward with each footstep shaking the ground. Lyra rolled onto one elbow. For the first time in decades, she felt fear. The ancient dreadnought paused above her. No weapon fired. None was necessary. One armored foot descended. There was no scream, only a nauseating squish. When Brother Aegis lifted his foot once more, nothing recognizable remained of the Kaleidos assassin who had ended dozens of wars and toppled empires in the Emperor's service. The battlefield reclaimed another legend. Captain Caanok Var's Vox chimed, and a message spread across his internal helmet display that read, "Encrypted, Priority Alpha." Caanok Var quickly noticed that Ironfather Feirros' signal had ceased. Authority passed automatically to Fleet Command. A single order appeared across his visor. Orbital extraction authorized. He studied the burning battlefield one final time. He could still see the smoke rising from the destroyed Cerastus Knight and the eliminated Armager. He knew his forces had completed various reconnaissance objectives. His mission, for now, had reached its conclusion. He keyed the company channel. Prepare for retrieval. Moments later, the roar of Thunderhawk engines rolled across the Morpheon Line. Magnetic grapples descended through curtains of ash. The Assault Terminators vanished into the smoke almost as quickly as they had appeared. House Drakonis watched them disappear without interference. Neither side pursued. Both knew this battle was far from over. The Morpheon Line had merely entered its next calculation. Somewhere deep beneath the ash-covered trenches, forgotten bunkers waited in silence for the warriors who would soon return to fight over them once again. Return of the Hammer. The dead did not linger upon the Morpheon Line. Armageddon allowed no time for mourning. The broken were buried beneath drifting ash. The honored were remembered in encrypted data archives. The forgotten disappeared beneath the boots of marching armies, until no trace remained that they had ever existed. Only the battlefield remembered. The crater where Scout Sergeant Doran Vale had died still glowed faintly with residual heat from the Castellan's volcano lance. The shattered skeleton of the Lance of Dawn continued to burn, its once proud heraldry blackened by reactor fire. The twisted remains of an Armager protruded from the earth like the ribs of some metallic beast. Across the vox net of the Iron Hands, another name had joined the litany of the fallen, Ironfather Feirros. His command frequency had fallen silent. His machine spirit had departed. Yet the operation endured, because it had to. Captain Caanok Var stood within the teleportarium aboard the Ferrum Dominatus. Around him, the surviving Assault Terminators waited In perfect silence, 9 warriors remained. Brother Tyrus's place in the formation was empty. No one acknowledged the gap. The machine did not grieve. The battle hololith rotated before them. Feirros' command algorithms had already redistributed operational authority. Fleet Command had transmitted revised reconnaissance priorities. One target remained unexamined. Knight Castellan, Command Node, Priority Alpha. Brother Asterion planted the company banner into the deck. Its crimson cloth, stained by centuries of smoke and blood, hung motionless beneath the glow of the teleportarium. The ancient looked toward Caanok Var. The Iron Father is dead. His voice emerged like grinding stone. Caanok Var studied the tactical display for several long seconds before replying. No. The Terminators looked toward him. The Iron Father has completed his service. Nothing more needed saying. Duty did not end with death. Duty simply passed to the next warrior. Within the command throne of the Castellan Indomitable Wrath, Sir Garin Helbrecht surveyed the battlefield with growing confidence. The Iron Hands' armored line remained dangerous. Their infantry had proven unexpectedly lethal. Yet momentum had shifted. The center remained vulnerable. One armiger still contested the western flank. The Crusader lived despite grievous wounds. Most importantly, the Iron Hands had withdrawn their Terminators. His vox chimed. High Monarch. Baron Cassian Holt's voice crackled through static. The center is open. Helbrecht nodded. Advance when ordered. The throne mechanicum pulsed beneath him, ancient spirits whispering approval. House Drakonis had weathered the first storm. Now came the conquest. Without warning, every Auspex array on the battlefield screamed. Energy readings spiked beyond measurable limits. Atmospheric ions surged. The poisoned clouds above the Morpheon Line split apart. Blue lightning erupted from empty air. Teleport beacons ignited. Reality tore open. Captain Caanok Var returned. 9 Assault Terminators materialized amidst cascading arcs of azure energy directly within the night deployment zone. Not beyond it. Not before it. Within it. Sir Garin Helbrecht's eyes widened. Impossible. No warning had reached his command systems. No defensive batteries had fired. The Iron Hands had simply appeared. Brother Asterion's company banner unfurled amidst the lightning like a challenge, hurled into the face of House Drakonis itself. The survivors immediately formed a defensive circle. No hesitation, no confusion, only purpose. Caanok Var stepped toward the towering Castellan, his Auspex activated before the smoke had even dispersed. The relic axiom pulsed against his gauntlet. Microscopic scanning beams swept across the knight's colossal frame. Once again, telemetry data related to armor density, shield harmonics, reactor fluctuations, targeting arrays, and internal heat signatures flooded in. Every secret hidden within the command engine flowed into the relic. A single rune flashed. Scan complete. Knight Castellan recorded. Mission complete. Helbrecht, enraged by their presence, shouts within his command throne. Destroy them! The Castellan's volcano lance descended. Twin siege breakers fired. Plasma erupted from the decimator. The battlefield disappeared beneath incandescent fire. Brother Darius stood closest to the impact. His storm shield endured for precisely 2 seconds. Then both warrior and shield vanished inside the blast. The explosion hurled the remaining Terminators backward. Brother Asterion lost his footing, but never released the company banner. Captain Caanok Var rose almost immediately. 8 Assault Terminators remained. They closed ranks once more. Not one retreated. Nearly 2 kilometers away, command of the Iron Hands armored column had passed to Senior Techmarine Hestor. He observed the battlefield through the remaining command relays left by Feirros. One enemy signature demanded immediate elimination. The Armager Warglaive, standing on Iron Hand's most southerly objective, the Techmarine, quickly determined the threat level to be unacceptably high. His command spread instantly through the armored network. All batteries. A brief pause. Fire. Brother Corvus Sigma had fallen, but Brother Aegis 47 had not. Yet every surviving vehicle answered. The remaining Gladiator Lancer rotated first. The Repulsor Executioner followed. Missiles streaked overhead while heavy laser fire crossed the battlefield. Storms of explosive shells converged upon the isolated Armager. Squire Lucan Voss looked upward. His warning runes became a solid wall of crimson. There was nowhere to run. The first laser beam pierced the Warglaive's reactor shielding. The second ignited ammunition reserves. The missile impacts followed immediately. The Armager disappeared inside a blossom of white fire. For an instant, victory seemed complete. Then its reactor detonated. The explosion rolled outward like a miniature sun. Armor fragments scythed across the battlefield. The shockwave struck nearby trenches and staggered Imperial Knights kilometers away. Iron Hand's vehicles rocked violently upon their suspensions. The Repulsor's port gravitic stabilizer flickered. The Gladiator's frontal armor received a fist-sized fragment, traveling faster than sound. Even distant Terminators instinctively lowered their storm shields against the expanding wall of debris. On Armageddon, even victory drew blood. Sir Garin Helbrecht watched the firestorm through smoke-blackened optics. Enough. He turned the Castellan away from the Terminators. Another threat demanded extinction. The ballistas dreadnoughts, ancient heroes, master hunters of armored prey. If they survived, no knight would remain safe. The volcano lance charged. Brother Aegis 47 looked upward. His machine spirit calculated 23 possible evasive maneuvers. None exceeded a 2% probability of survival. He accepted the result. The ancient warrior fired one final lascannon volley. The beams struck harmlessly against the Castellan's void shielding, and the volcano lance answered. White light consumed everything. When the brilliance faded, Brother Aegis 47 no longer existed. Only molten adamantium remained. Brother Corvus Sigma had survived centuries. He had fought orcs upon Golgotha, traitor titans upon Mordian, Necron constructs beneath Medusat itself. His missile launcher elevated toward the Castellan. Target acquired. Firing solution complete. Before the launch command could execute, a second volcano blast engulfed him. The earth erupted. A crater dozens of meters wide swallowed the ancient dreadnought whole. His sarcophagus vaporized before the machine spirit could even cry out. 2 warriors, Nearly 800 years of accumulated service, gone in seconds. Aboard the Ferrum Dominatus, 2 more blue runes disappeared forever. The command deck remained silent. One serf quietly updated the casualty ledger. Another transmitted the names toward Medusa. No prayers were spoken. The Iron Hands had long ago learned that grief altered nothing. Only memory endured. At the heart of the battlefield, Baron Cassian Holt guided the Night Warden Iron Resolve through the smoke. The destruction of the ballistus dreadnoughts had opened the battlefield. No anti-armor guns remained capable of challenging him directly. His knight emerged from the haze like an iron mountain. One objective lay beneath his left foot, another within easy reach. He strode between them. Ancient trenches collapsed beneath adamantium greaves. Concrete bunkers crumbled. Observation towers toppled. His command throne illuminated green. Primary objective secured. He took 3 more measured steps. Another confirmation appeared. Secondary objective secured. 1 machine, 2 objectives. The center of the Morpheon Line belonged to House Drakonis. Baron Holt looked across the battlefield toward the burning wrecks of the fallen. The Iron Hands still fought with terrifying discipline. Captain Caanok remained alive within their deployment zone. The armored vehicles continued firing, yet something fundamental had changed. For the first time since planetfall, the initiative belonged to the Knights. Across the voxnet of House Drakonis, Sir Garin Helbrecht spoke with quiet satisfaction. Planetfall is succeeding. His words carried no triumph, only certainty, because every commander upon Armageddon understood a simple truth. Battles were not won by destroying the enemy. They were won by standing where the enemy could not. And at the center of the Morpheon Line, beneath skies forever darkened by ash and fire, the towering silhouette of Iron Resolve stood alone, an unyielding monument of adamantium, claiming the heart of the battlefield for House Drakonis. Last calculations. Armageddon had fallen silent once again. Not truly silent. There was never silence upon the Forge world. The distant roar of manufactorums rolled endlessly across the poisoned plains. Plasma fires crackled inside shattered bunkers. Burning promethium seeped into cratered trenches with the slow persistence of molten blood. Somewhere beyond the Morpheon Line, macro cannon batteries still traded shells with enemies neither army could see. But upon the battlefield itself, something had changed. The violence had become deliberate. Every shell fired, every step taken, every warrior slain. Each was no longer an act of fury, only calculation. Captain Caanok stood motionless within the shattered remains of the night deployment zone. The smoke from the destroyed armaments drifted lazily across the battlefield, occasionally parting just enough for him to glimpse the towering silhouette of the Castellan through the haze. His retinal display no longer highlighted unknowns, only completed tasks. One after another, the icons turned from amber to green. Observation Bunker Sigma 17. Scanned. Archived. Western Hardpoint. Scanned. Archived. Eastern Communications Trench. Scanned. Archived. Forward Command Bastion. Scanned. Archived. Night Castellan. Complete. Night Warden. Complete. Night Crusader. Complete. Cerastus Castigator. Destroyed after full Auspex acquisition. planetfall landing zones, mapped, defensive corridors, catalogued. Every bunker, every fortress, every knight, every objective had been scanned, recorded, and archived. For nearly a full minute, he simply watched streams of encrypted information ascend through the ash-choked atmosphere toward the waiting strike cruiser overhead. The mission had succeeded. Iron Father Feirros had been correct. Knowledge would survive even if none of them did. Yet, one calculation remained unresolved. Brother Asterion approached quietly. The great banner stirred behind him. Our extraction window closes. Caanok Var looked toward the horizon. The towering Night Warden still dominated the battlefield's center. The Castellan remained operational and within reach. The wounded Crusader continued to stand beside the landing zones, despite catastrophic damage. House Drakonis still possessed the battlefield. Logic suggested withdrawal. The probability of victory had become mathematically insignificant. Axiom agreed. Across Caanok, Var's display, appeared a single recommendation. Mission complete. Recommend extraction. He ignored it, not because the machine was wrong, but because the equation remained unfinished. He pointed toward the heart of the night deployment zone and the command bunker, the landing site's primary Vox relay. The symbolic center of House Drakonis advance. Our duty. His voice remained as calm as ever. Is not probability. The Terminators understood immediately. Brother Asterion lifted the company banner. Storm shields locked together. Thunder hammers lowered. 8 warriors began walking, not charging, walking, advancing, like an execution carried out with absolute certainty. The smoke concealed them until the final moments. Sir Garin Helbrecht saw movement only when the Auspex alarms began screaming. "Captain!" one of his sacristans shouted. "Astartes within the perimeter." Helbrecht swung the Castellan toward the threat. Too late. The Assault Terminators emerged through burning wreckage, already inside the defensive cordon. Heavy bolters opened fire. Twin meltaguns spat streams of incandescent fury. The volcano lance discharged point blank. The earth disappeared beneath impossible violence. Brother Galenus vanished inside the blast. His storm shield evaporated, and his gene seed was instantly lost forever. The remaining warriors simply marched onward. Captain Caanok Var never broke stride. Brother Asterion planted one armored boot atop the shattered remains of a landing beacon. The company banner unfurled above House Drakonis' command post. Crimson cloth snapped violently within the furnace winds. An impossible sight. The banner of Clan Raukaan, flying over the enemy's own headquarters. No cheers followed. No triumph. Only silence. The machine had completed another task. Across the battlefield, both armies witnessed the impossible. Inside the repulsor indomitable logic, Techmarine Hestor saw the banner rise. His augmetic processors recalculated immediately. Captain Var has seized the objective. No response came. The Iron Father's Vox remained forever silent. Instead, the fleet command acknowledged, confirmed. Elsewhere, Chaplain Malak Voss watched from the shattered center. His Terminators still held their lonely position among ruined trenches. He bowed his head, not in celebration, but in recognition of the accomplishment of an impossible feat. Captain Var had accomplished something no algorithm had considered practical. Even Baron Cassian Holt, standing victorious within the Night Warden's throne mechanicum, paused. "They've taken our command post." His voice carried neither panic nor anger, only respect. Sir Edric Vaughn laughed weakly through blood filling his lungs. "Their iron hands." As though no further explanation were required, warning alarms continued to scream throughout the cockpit of the indomitable Wrath. Entire sections of the command display had gone dark. Damage reports scrolled endlessly across the remaining monitors. Reactor efficiency, 61%. Shield arrays, compromised. Shield breaker missile reserve, expended. Volcano lance, thermally unstable. Around him, the voices of his household filled the Vox network with reports, casualty figures, needed repairs, and status updates. He silenced them all. For several moments, he simply studied the battlefield. Lady Selene Arcturus, dead. The Lance of Dawn burned still. 2 armigers had been reduced to twisted wreckage. The Kalidas assassin had fulfilled her mission only to perish moments later beneath the foot of an ancient dreadnought. Sir Edric's Crusader remained upright through little more than stubbornness and the indomitable will of its machine spirit. The Iron Hands had reached his own command post and had raised their standard above his landing zone. By every measure of battlefield violence, House Drakonis had paid dearly, yet strategy demanded a broader view. His tactical display projected the battlefield from orbit. Drop sites remained secure. The western expansion corridor remained under night control. The central objectives belonged to Baron Holt. Planetfall remained successful. The Morpheon Line had not fallen. The line had been taken. Helbrecht leaned back within the ancient embrace of the throne mechanicum. The machine spirit settled around him like an old companion. He spoke quietly, almost to himself. Victory, not glorious or clean, simply victory. Captain Caanok Var stood beside the company banner. Around him lay shattered landing beacons, ruined communications arrays, and the broken remains of the night command post. He looked toward the center of the battlefield. The Night Warden still stood there, immovable. The Castellan still towered above the burning plain. The surviving knights still controlled the ground that mattered. Axiom completed its final calculation. Probability of tactical victory, 0.7%. The captain closed the display. Numbers no longer mattered. The reconnaissance was complete. The enemy had been measured. The Morpheon Line had surrendered every secret it possessed. Far above, aboard the Ferrum Dominatus, encrypted archives containing every scan, every firing solution, every structural analysis, and every observation made by warriors now dead, began transmitting toward Medusa. Iron Father Feirros would never see the data he had died to obtain. The chapter would. That had always been enough. Captain Caanok Var rested one gauntleted hand upon the weathered haft of the company banner. The furnace winds of Armageddon whipped its crimson cloth high above the ruins of the night command post. For one brief moment, beneath a sky forever hidden behind smoke and ash, the impossible seemed within reach. Then the moment passed. The battle for the Morpheon Line was over. The campaign for Armageddon had only just begun. Epilogue. The ashes remember. The Morpheon Line belonged to no one. When the guns finally fell silent, the battlefield remained exactly what it had been before the first Thunderhawk pierced Armageddon's skies, a scar carved into a dying world by generations of unending war. The trenches still stretched across the blasted plain like open wounds. Concrete fortifications leaned drunkenly against the earth, their ferrocrete walls fractured by volcano fire and thunder hammers alike. Vox towers lay toppled across communication trenches that had once carried the voices of millions. Burned-out bunkers continued to smolder beneath drifting curtains of volcanic ash, while molten adamantium cooled into twisted monuments, marking the places where god machines had met their ends. The wind carried no songs of victory. Only ash, only smoke, only the endless thunder of Hive Tempestora's distant manufactorums, whose labor had never ceased, despite the battle fought to preserve them. Armageddon endured. It always had. The first figures to enter the battlefield were not warriors. They came without banners, without weapons, without triumph. Black-robed servitors of the Adeptus Mechanicus moved methodically through the shattered trenches, accompanied by tech marines of Clan Raukaan, whose expressions remained hidden behind expressionless iron masks. Each fallen space marine was located, identified, recorded. Brother Tyrus, Brother Darius, Brother Galenus, Scout Sergeant Doran Vale, Sergeant Kalen Drust, Sergeant Marcus Thane. Names were spoken only once, not aloud, encoded into the chapter's eternal archives. Gene seed extraction began immediately where it was still possible. Red lenses illuminated the dead. Narthecium drills hummed softly. The precious legacy of each warrior was removed with practiced precision before being sealed inside adamantium reliquaries bearing the sigil of Medusa. The flesh had failed. Its legacy would not. Nearby, recovery cranes lifted the shattered sarcophagi of Brothers Aegis 47 and Corvus Sigma from the immense craters left by the Castellan's volcano lance. Almost nothing remained. Fragments of black ceramite, twisted adamantium, a scorched sarcophagus door. Within the ruins, Techmarine Hestor discovered a single surviving memory core. He removed it reverently. Centuries of accumulated battlefield experience still survived within that tiny fragment of sacred machinery. The ancient warriors had fallen. Their knowledge had not. Across the battlefield, another procession advanced. House Drakonis' sacristans walked among the wrecks of the fallen knights with solemn purpose. They neither hurried nor lingered. Each movement formed part of rituals older than the Imperium itself. The colossal corpse of the Lance of Dawn dominated the western battlefield. Its once proud heraldry had melted into blackened steel. Its Tempest warblade remained buried deep within the earth where it had fallen. Sacristan Magos Elian climbed slowly toward the shattered cockpit. 3 attendants followed carrying censers burning fragrant oils. No words passed between them. Only hymns transmitted in ancient Binharic frequencies echoed softly from servo skulls drifting overhead. The cockpit hatch finally yielded. Inside sat Lady Selene Arcturos. Her hands still gripped the throne controls. Death had come instantly. Her expression remained peaceful. The sacristan bowed deeply. "You rode well, my lady." The throne mechanicum would return to House Drakonis. The pilot would return to her ancestors. Neither would ever truly die. Farther south, crews labored around the battered Crusader Resolute Fury. Sir Edric Vaughan refused evacuation. Broken ribs made every breath painful. His left arm hung uselessly beside him. Still, he remained seated within the throne mechanicum. My knight walks home. No physician argued. Aboard the Ferrum Dominatus, silence ruled the strategium. The tactical hololith still displayed the Morpheon Line. Blue icons marked the dead. Green icons marked completed reconnaissance. Amber markers had disappeared entirely. Captain Caanok Var stood alone before the projection. Brother Asterion remained nearby, the company banner resting once again beside him. Fleet Command transmitted the final casualty ledger. The names appeared one by one. No commentary accompanied them. No eulogies, only facts. Iron Father Feirros, killed in action. Scout Squad 4, destroyed. 1 Vanguard Veteran Squad, destroyed. 2nd Vanguard Veteran Squad, destroyed. Brothers Aegis 47 and Corvus Sigma, entombed no longer. Several minutes passed before anyone spoke. Techmarine Hestor approached carrying a crystalline data cylinder no larger than a man's hand. Mission Archive. Caanok Var accepted it carefully. Within the crystal rested the labor of every warrior who had died upon the Morpheon Line. Every bunker, every firing lane, every trench, every structural weakness, every auspex sweep, every night, every defensive position, every battlefield calculation. The Iron Father had sacrificed everything to obtain this knowledge. Now it belonged to the chapter. Captain Caanok Var inserted the cylinder into the stratagium's primary cogitator. Millions of lines of information spread across the hololith. The Morpheon Line transformed from an unknown battlefield into a fully mapped fortress. Weaknesses appeared. Approach routes visualized. Buried ammunition stores identified. Observation blind spots recognized, and artillery coordinates logged. The data would guide future Imperial commanders long after every survivor of this battle had joined the honored dead. Caanok Var studied the projection, then quietly spoke the only eulogy the Iron Hands required. The mission succeeded. High Monarch Sir Garin Helbrecht stood upon the walls of the newly secured command bastion overlooking the battlefield. The banners of House Drakonis fluttered from reinforced Vox towers. Engineers established supply depots, while servitors erected prefabricated shield generators. Heavy lifters unloaded ammunition and replacement reactor cores. Planetfall had become occupation. The foothold had been secured as ordered. Baron Cassian Holt approached, his armor stained by soot and sacred oils. The western corridor is secure. Helbrecht nodded. Expansion established. The center held. The High Monarch looked toward the distant horizon where Hive Tempestora's towering spires disappeared into smoke. Beyond them lay countless manufactorums, countless billions of Imperial citizens working in countless factories, producing weapons for wars that would never end. House Drakonis had done what had been asked of it. The Morpheon Line would not fall, not today. Years later, within the Librarium vaults beneath the Iron Hands Fortress Monastery on Medusa, a young tech marine paused before an ancient data reliquary. Its title read simply, Reconnaissance Archive, Armageddon, Morpheon Line. Attached beneath the title rested a smaller inscription, compiled by Iron Father Feirros. Completed by Captain Caanok Var. The tech marine inserted the archive into a learning cogitator. Instantly, the Morpheon Line unfolded before him in extraordinary detail, every trench, bunker, and hidden tunnel, knowledge purchased with blood that would preserve countless future lives. Elsewhere, within the great halls of House Drakonis, another relic occupied a place of honor, a shattered fragment of the Lance of Dawn's armor. Beneath it, engraved into polished marble, appeared the words of Lady Selene Arcturus. A worthy end. Young squires paused before it every day, not to mourn, but to remember. No monument would ever be raised upon the Morpheon Line. Armageddon had no room for monuments, only battlefields, corpses, and ash. Imperial historians would eventually record the engagement in little more than a few lines buried within campaign ledgers. House Drakonis had successfully established its planetary landing zone. Clan Raukaan had completed a comprehensive reconnaissance of the western defensive corridor. Operational objectives achieved. Victory points favored House Drakonis, and the official record ended there. History often mistakes arithmetic for truth. For those who had walked the Morpheon Line beneath skies of burning ash, the battle had never been about numbers. It had been about duty. The Iron Hands had marched into the fire, knowing that knowledge was worth more than survival. The Knights of House Drakonis had accepted terrible losses to establish the foothold that would protect Hive Tempestora. Neither force had failed. Neither force had truly triumphed. Each had fulfilled the burden placed upon it. In the grim darkness of the far future, that was often the closest thing the servants of the Emperor would ever know to victory. And long after the wrecks of knights had been salvaged, long after the trenches had filled once more with ash, and long after the names of the fallen had faded from living memory, the Morpheon Line remained. Waiting. As Armageddon always waited. For the next war.